It was one of those deceptively calm Sunday evenings, the kind that lulls you into believing everything is safe. The pace of the world slows just enough for the noise of the week to drift away. But in the stillness, you can't hide from the truths you've been dodging. That kind of evening where the weight of long-buried disappointments presses down too heavily to dismiss, and illusions lose their hold. I hadn't intended to unravel my marriage that night. Sarah, my dearest friend since college, had arrived unannounced. She always sensed when I needed company, even when I couldn't voice it. We sat together in the living room, sinking into the familiar cushions of the couch. The warm glow of a single lamp painted soft shadows across the walls. A half-finished bottle of wine sat on the coffee table, slowly peeling away my emotional defenses. As far as I knew, Nathan was upstairs, likely rummaging through boxes in the storage room, tinkering with one of his many unfinished projects. He was always good at keeping himself occupied, especially lately, when our conversations had dwindled to strained small talk. We still went through the motions. Meals prepared, bills paid, brief exchanges about groceries or the thermostat. But the closeness that once anchored us had thinned to a fragile thread. Our silence had become its own language. And that night I couldn't pretend anymore. I don't know, Sarah, I murmured, pressing my fingertips against my temples, as if to squeeze away the ache. Some days I wish I hadn't married him. The moment those words escaped, I felt it, an ugly twist in my stomach, like I'd unleashed something dark and irreversible into the room. The air turned colder. Sarah's eyes widened, her brow furrowed. You don't mean that, she said, too quickly, too firmly. But the truth was complicated. I did mean it, at least in that weary, drained part of me that had been running on empty. I loved Nathan, or at least I believed I did, but the love had shifted. It wasn't the spark of our early years, nor the steady comfort we once shared. It had become heavy, dutiful, like something carried out of habit instead of desire. And somewhere on the staircase, hidden in the shadows, Nathan heard every word. I didn't see him. I didn't hear a step or a breath. But later I would picture his face frozen mid-step, hearing the woman he built a life with quietly confess regret to someone else. The next morning, I noticed the emptiness. Before I saw it, the house felt hollow. The coffee machine sat unused. Nathan's keys weren't by the door. His boots, the ones he always lined up neatly like soldiers, were gone. At first, I told myself he'd left early for work, maybe slipped out to the hardware store. But a pit grew inside me. He never left without a goodbye, even on the days we fought, especially on those days. By noon, my nerves had boiled over. I called his phone. It rang until voicemail. I sent a text, nothing. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my laptop, hoping for some clue. Then I saw it, an unread email. His name on the sender line. The subject. A single word, farewell. With shaking hands, I opened it. Asterisk, I heard you last night. I wasn't supposed to, but I did. You weren't angry. You weren't shouting. That was your truth. And that truth broke me. I gave you everything I had. I kept showing up. And all this time, you've quietly regretted me. I won't stay where I'm only endured. Don't search for me. The divorce papers are already filed. I'm not bitter. I just refuse to be someone's mistake. Nathan, asterisk. I sat frozen, rereading his words again and again. Each sentence landed like a blow. There was no malice in his tone, no plea, just quiet finality. A clean break. I rushed to his office, praying I wasn't. Too late. But the receptionist said he'd resigned that morning, cleared his desk, and left no trace. By afternoon, his number was disconnected, his social accounts erased. It was as if Nathan had deliberately erased himself from the world we once shared. I reached out to friends, none knew anything. His brother was vague, saying Nathan needed space and wanted no contact. And then, as if by clockwork, the divorce papers arrived, already filled out, his signature in place. My part reduced to a formality, just a signature. I waited for anger or denial, but all I felt was crushing guilt and grief. Not just for the man I'd lost, but for the love I let decay. I remembered how Nathan once looked at me, like I was the best thing that ever happened to him. The little things, rubbing my back when I couldn't sleep, leaving notes on the fridge with doodles and hearts. He never stopped trying. And the cruelest part was that I hadn't even said those words to his face. I'd spoken them about him, thinking he wasn't listening. That betrayal, the hidden, quiet kind, was worse than any argument we'd ever had, because it wasn't born from anger but from truth. A truth I never dared speak to him directly. Months passed. I tried everything to find him. I even hired a private investigator. Nothing. No new address, no bank activity, no trace. Nathan hadn't just left me, he'd vanished into silence to reclaim his peace. And I finally understood. Hearing those words wasn't just a wound. It was a confirmation. Proof of what he'd likely already sensed in our growing distance. That I had stopped choosing him. That I remained out of routine, not love. So he did the bravest thing imaginable. He let go. Now, some nights I stare at the ceiling, wondering where he is. If he's happy, if someone else wakes beside him now, seeing him as the best decision they ever made. Because that's what he was for me. Only I realized it too late. Nathan left without vengeance, without spectacle, leaving no trace, just the echo of a single sentence I will regret for the rest of my life.